Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. And thanks so much for the introduction. When was the first time you really thought about your race? Maybe it was in middle school when you had to attend your Martin Luther King Jr. assemblies. Or maybe it wasn't until high school when you were watching the police brutality cases play out on national television and you were exploring your own identity. For me and a lot of other Black children, we have to start to conceptualize our race at a very, very young age. I remember second, third, fourth grade when my mom pulled me aside for the talk. And not the talk that you're thinking about, but the talk regarding what it will mean for me to be a Black child growing up in America. She started out by telling me, this is what you should do if the police ever pull you over in the future. Hands on the wheel, documents in reach, no sudden movements. Say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and do whatever they tell you to do. She followed up with, Victoria, you are a Black girl, and you are going to have to work twice as hard if you want to receive the same recognition as your white peers. Whoa, a lot to process as a young child. But she didn't have to pull me aside for me to have already started to recognize that this was going to be a reality for me. I remember in the fourth grade watching the news, mesmerized, as a white cop violently shoved a Black man face down in the ground while yelling and cussing in his face. I was so shocked. How was this happening on national television and nobody was doing anything about it? I started to realize that my skin color would tell people who I supposedly was without me even having to open my mouth. I wasn't going to be given the privilege of individuality like my white peers. People weren't going to see Victoria, an avid Magic Treehouse reader who loved to garden and was pretty shy. They were going to see a Black female child in that order. And they were going to view me through the lens of whatever those three words conjured up in their mind's eye. Growing up, I got a lot of questions about my ethnic identity, usually pretty innocent questions like, why is your skin color darker than mine? Or why does your hair look like mine? I was always a very curious child myself. I loved to learn more about the world by constantly asking questions. So, for the most part, I didn't begrudge my peers for their curiosity. It was the responses of the adults around me that told me, Victoria, there is something wrong with the color of your skin. Whenever my classmates would ask me a question, the adults would always shush and dismiss the child, resulting in awkward silence and nervous laughter. I started to pick up on these unspoken cues and was like, oh, I guess this is not something we're supposed to talk about. My skin color felt like the perpetual elephant in the room, something that everybody noticed, but nobody wanted to acknowledge. Late elementary school, I started to internalize the unspoken messages I was hearing around me. I specifically remember thinking to myself, I'm going to be the kindest, most generous, most